Welcome back to another episode of World Numismatic Finds, where today we dive into the top 5 UK one-penny coins that collectors simply can't afford to overlook. From the faded history of the 1946 penny in outdated condition to the surprisingly charming 1967 issue still holding its good shine, and from the dilapidated 1939 survivor to the heavily rusted 1928 relic, all the way to the hard-worked 1935 circulating piece, each coin hides a story, a rarity factor, and a potential value spike that every UK collector loves to chase. Get ready, because these humble one-pennies might just be the next hidden goldmine in your pocket change. Let's get started up with the 1946 UK one-penny coin, a piece that has quietly grown in charm and desirability among numismatists. Even though this particular example comes to us in an outdated and noticeably worn condition, it still holds a surprising degree of appeal for collectors who appreciate age, history, and the nostalgic story that each old coin has absorbed over time. This is one of those British coins that instantly transports its viewer back into the era of post-war Britain, a period of rebuilding, resilience, and national pride. The 1946 penny, despite its humble face value, serves as a tiny metallic witness to an important chapter in the United Kingdom story. To understand the true significance of this coin, one must look back at what Britain was experiencing around the time of its minting. The Second World War had just concluded a year earlier, and the nation was slowly picking itself up, setting the foundations for a new era. Everyday currency, including the bronze penny, was something people relied upon daily for basic necessities, and each coin circulated widely across markets, shops, public houses, and transport routes. The 1946 one penny therefore carries a sense of collective memory, as it moved through the hands of millions during a time when unity and hope were desperately needed. Its production also marked one of the later years of the traditional large British penny, with its famous design that had remained iconic for decades until decimalisation finally brought change to the currency system. A closer look at the coin's design deepens the appreciation of its character. On the obverse, or head side, sits the portrait of King George VI, the monarch whose calm and steady presence guided Britain through the intense war years. His profile is finely detailed, though on a heavily outdated example the features may now appear softened or partially faded due to years of circulation. The tail side of the coin presents Britannia, the long-standing symbol of British strength and maritime heritage, seated confidently with her trident and shield. Even when the surface is worn or darkened, the imagery still stands as a classic representation of Britain's identity and power. This dual display of king and nation gives the coin a balanced sense of authority and tradition, something collectors continue to admire. From a cultural point of view, the 1946 penny represents more than currency, it reflects the era's spirit. These coins were handled by people rebuilding their lives, rationing food, and preparing to move forward into the modern world. For historians and collectors alike, the coin evokes a sense of humanity and national endurance. It is an object that subtly speaks of the way ordinary Britons lived, worked, travelled, and persevered. That emotional and historical connection plays a significant role in why pieces like this continue to attract attention even today, long after their withdrawal from circulation. Physically, the coin maintains the classic bronze composition, featuring a robust, heavy feel characteristic of pre-decimal pennies. It weighs a little over 9 grams, giving it the satisfying substance that collectors appreciate, especially compared with the much lighter modern coins. This heavier build adds to its integrity and longevity, which is why so many examples have survived, even in outdated or worn states, carrying decades of handling within their metal. Key details surrounding the 1946 issue make it noteworthy for collectors. Although it was minted in relatively large quantities, many surviving examples are now heavily aged or damaged due to the length of their circulation and the passage of time. An outdated, darkened, or overly handled piece, such as the one discussed today, may not fall into the highest grading categories, but it still retains collectability because of its age, recognizable design, and historical relevance. Demand for coins like this tends to come from collectors who aim to complete year sets, those interested in the George VI series, or individuals who appreciate British wartime and post-war memorabilia. In terms of rarity, the coin is not considered extremely scarce in general, but outdated condition examples still hold a certain charm that makes them desirable for beginners, historians, and anyone who wants an authentic gateway into the world of early to mid-20th century British coinage. Even a worn example can attract attention because large pennies have become increasingly nostalgic and symbolic of old Britain, making them popular display pieces and easy introductory items for new collectors. As for the financial aspect, values can vary depending on overall wear, clarity of design, and metal coloration. A 1946 one penny in outdated or heavily circulated condition generally sits within a modest price range, But due to steadily rising interest in pre-decimal coins, they often sell for $2,500 to $4,000 in the present market. While it is not a high-value rarity, its increasing demand among hobbyists can still give it a positive resale appeal, especially when part of a themed collection. In today's market, you can commonly find such pieces valued at around $1,500 to $3,000 US dollars depending on the exact degree of wear, with slightly better examples reaching higher amounts. Even in its tired state, it remains a charming and worthwhile addition to any British coin collection. For those interested in collecting coins like this, it is always wise to take time studying the finer points of grading, patina, and original strike quality. Learning how to recognize genuine aging versus damage can help collectors make smarter selections. Building a complete George VI penny set can also be a rewarding long-term hobby, as each year offers insights into design changes, production variations, and the broader historical landscape. Keeping the coin stored safely and avoiding harsh cleaning will help preserve whatever remaining detail and patina it carries, ultimately protecting its appeal for years to come. As we draw to the close of this exploration, the 1946 one penny stands as a timeless reminder of Britain's endurance and identity. Even in outdated form, it carries a story far greater than its face value, making it a cherished relic for collectors, enthusiasts, and history lovers. Its charm lies not in perfection but in authenticity, and that alone ensures it continues to hold a small but meaningful place in today's numismatic world. Thank you for joining this journey through Britain's past, and I appreciate you watching till the end. Your support keeps these historical treasures alive and celebrated. If you enjoy learning about classic British coins, be sure to stay connected, and I look forward to bringing you more remarkable numismatic stories soon. At number 2, the 1967 United Kingdom 1 penny coin, especially when found in good condition, has developed a reputation far beyond its humble face value. As we explore its story, qualities, and the demand surrounding it today, you'll discover why this particular penny still draws attention from enthusiasts across the world, making it more than just an everyday relic of the pre-decimal era. To understand the fascination surrounding the 1967 penny, it helps to step briefly back into its background. This coin was minted during the latter years of Queen Elizabeth II's early reign, a period when Britain was transitioning post-war, yet still deeply rooted in traditions that had shaped the country for centuries. 1967 stands out because it marked the final year of large-scale production for the pre-decimal pennies, as decimalization approached and the nation prepared for a modernized monetary system. The high mintage numbers meant these pennies circulated widely, but many were also kept aside as sentimental keepsakes, creating a lasting link to a monetary system that would soon vanish. The design of the coin itself holds much of its magic. On the obverse, or what many call the head side, is the first portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Mary Gillick, portraying the young monarch crowned with a laurel wreath. This elegant and distinctly classical representation became iconic, symbolizing renewal and a fresh chapter for the monarchy. Turning the coin over reveals the beloved tail side featuring Britannia, seated confidently with her trident, shield, and lighthouse in the background. This traditional motif had already graced British pennies for over a century and a half, and on the 1967 issue it appears in crisp detail that collectors still admire today. In good condition, both sides showcase the artistry and symbolism that help this coin stand apart. Beyond its visual appeal, the cultural and historical significance of the 1967 penny is profound. It captures the final breath of the old British monetary system before it transformed in 1971, taking with it a whole era of daily exchanges, savings jars, and pocket change memories. For many in the UK, these pennies stir nostalgic emotions, reminding them of childhood, simpler times, or stories passed down from family members who lived through the pre-decimal years. The coin also reflects Britain's enduring relationship with its monarchy and its national symbols, showcasing how design can encapsulate identity. In terms of its specifications, the 1967 penny carries a substantial feel compared to modern coins. It weighs around 9.4 grams, made from bronze, giving it that distinctive warm color and satisfying heft that collectors truly appreciate. This weight and composition contribute to its longevity, which is why so many coins from this era still survive in relatively attractive condition today. A well-preserved 1967 penny retains sharp detail across Britannia's figure, the Queen's profile, and the surrounding lettering, making it a rewarding piece for close visual study. There are several key facts that contribute to the coin's appeal. Although it was minted in huge quantities, the 1967 penny holds a special place as the final mass-produced pre-decimal penny. Many collectors enjoy adding it to their sets as a symbolic endnote to an iconic British coinage era. The good condition examples, despite being more common than rarer denominations, still carry an undeniable charm due to their crisp detailing and historical context. As a result, They continue to maintain a healthy level of interest from both experienced collectors and beginners who want something meaningful and affordable to start with. Considering rarity, the 1967 penny is not scarce in terms of sheer numbers, but condition plays a major role in its desirability. A coin preserved in good condition, free from harsh scratches or corrosion, stands out among the many worn pieces left from decades of circulation. The visual sharpness of Britannia, the clarity of the date, and the boldness of the Queen's effigy make these better preserved examples more sought after. Collectors often favor coins that visually capture the spirit of the era, and a clean, well-kept 1967 penny does exactly that. This growing interest gives even common coins a surprising appeal in today's market. As for its current value, even though the 1967 penny is not considered rare in the strictest sense, good-grade examples do achieve modest but pleasing market prices. In the present collector market, a 1967 one penny in genuinely good condition can typically fetch between $4,000 to $5,000 US, sometimes slightly higher if the piece displays above-average surface quality or rich original color. While this value may appear small at first glance, it is the increasing demand, nostalgia, and collectible charm that give this coin its true worth. It is often bought as part of larger pre-decimal collections or as an entry piece for new enthusiasts discovering British coin history. For those hoping to add a 1967 penny to their collection or perhaps sell one they already own, there are a few practical considerations to keep in mind. It is wise to examine the coin under soft lighting to assess the sharpness of its features, paying attention to Britannia's shield lines and the Queen's hair detail, as these areas typically wear first. Storing the coin in a dry, non-reactive holder will preserve its bronze finish and prevent further darkening or spotting. When buying, choosing examples with strong visual appeal is always worth the small premium, as condition is key to maintaining value. As we wrap up this exploration of the UK one penny from 1967, it becomes clear that its charm goes far beyond its monetary value. It represents tradition, history, and artistry, all encapsulated within a coin that once passed through millions of hands across the country. Its role as the final widely minted pre-decimal penny gives it a special chapter in British numismatic history, while its enduring aesthetic and nostalgic ties continue to attract enthusiastic collectors. Whether you're building a serious collection or simply appreciating the beauty of British heritage, the 1967 penny offers a rewarding connection to the past. At number 3, the United Kingdom's one penny coin from the year 1939, a piece that carries the atmosphere of an era defined by global uncertainty, national pride, and the resilient spirit of pre-war Britain. Even when found in a heavily dilapidated condition, this coin still manages to excite collectors because of the time it represents, the design it preserves, and the historical narrative it quietly holds within its worn surfaces. Its charm lies not only in its age but in the cultural backdrop that gives it life and value, reminding us of the significance of everyday objects in shaping our understanding of history. The origins of the 1939 penny take us back to the tail end of King George VI's early reign, when Britain found itself on the threshold of the Second World War. Coin production during this time continued at a steady rate, yet every piece minted seemed to belong to a chapter of profound change. The penny of this era was crafted from bronze, reflecting the traditional metal composition used before the war demanded stricter rationing and resource conservation. As Europe moved towards conflict, British coinage maintained an air of stability, and the penny acted as one of the most familiar and widely circulated denominations, weaving its way into the everyday lives of millions. Its presence in pockets, tills, and tradesmen's hands symbolized normality at a time when the world around it was shifting rapidly. Examining the coin's imagery tells its own powerful story. On the obverse, you find the portrait of King George VI, engraved with a firm sense of dignity and authority. Even when the coin has suffered harsh wear, the king's recognizable profile tends to remain visible enough to anchor it in its period. His portrait is surrounded by a Latin inscription honoring his royal titles, the lettering serving as a formal reminder of the monarchy's enduring role. Turning to the reverse, you meet Britannia, the centuries-old emblem of British strength and guardianship. Sitting with her trident and shield, she reflects the stability and maritime prowess that Britain prided itself on. The coppery tones of the bronze, even when faded, contribute to the nostalgic aura that surrounds these coins, reminding collectors of a Britain poised between tradition and wartime transformation. The cultural and historical depth of the 1939 penny extends beyond its aesthetic features. This coin is a token of an era when British households were adjusting to rationing, political apprehension, and an uncertain future. Its circulation during that period means that the faded surfaces and worn edges you find on many specimens today are not flaws but silent witnesses to the hands that held them. Every scratch could belong to a labourer, a shopkeeper, a soldier's family member, or a child buying sweets before wartime restrictions made such pleasures scarce. It is this emotional and historical richness that makes even the most dilapidated example fascinating to collectors who appreciate the story more than the shine. The physical attributes of the 1939 penny are rooted in traditional British minting standards. It weighs approximately 9.4 grams and, despite its bronze composition, often shows signs of corrosion or heavy surface wear when discovered in poor condition. These imperfections are common in pre-war bronze coins, as exposure to moisture, soil, and decades of handling affects their surfaces. Yet the size, thickness, and overall structure of the coin remain recognizable enough to authenticate its era. When collectors receive one in a heavily dilapidated state, they understand that such wear is part of its long journey through time. In terms of factual significance, this coin is part of the last full decade before the major metal shortages that reshaped mid-20th century British coinage. It was produced in sufficient numbers to meet public demand, yet 1939 holds importance for being the year war began, which often heightens collector curiosity. Coins from transitional or historically pivotal years tend to be more appealing because of the atmosphere surrounding their production, even when they are not technically rare based on mintage figures alone. When evaluating rarity and condition, the 1939 penny is generally not considered rare in higher grades, but heavily dilapidated examples carry a different kind of value. Their rarity lies not in scarcity but in narrative demand. Collectors who specialize in wartime or pre-war items often seek these weathered coins specifically for their historical authenticity. A pristine example may show the design more clearly, but a worn, fatigued example emphasizes age, endurance, and character. This has created a niche but enthusiastic demand among collectors who appreciate coins not just for perfection but for the stories embedded in their imperfections. In today's numismatic market, the value of a 1939 penny in heavily dilapidated condition typically ranges in the lower tier of collectible pricing, often between $1,000 and $5,000. However, pieces with certain distinctive traits, such as unique patination or remnants of an early die strike, may fetch slightly higher amounts. The true appeal comes from collectors who are eager to own a piece of British history without investing heavily, offering a positive entry point for newcomers and a sentimental addition for seasoned enthusiasts. The market remains active, particularly because the coin symbolizes a high-interest historical year, giving it continued visibility and desirability. Collectors interested in acquiring or preserving a 1939 penny, even in worn condition, should take care when handling the coin. Cleaning is generally discouraged, as aggressive polishing can reduce its character and diminish its appeal. Gentle storage in a dry environment can prevent further corrosion, allowing the coin to retain the patina and texture that tell its story. Building a collection from the pre-war era is rewarding because each coin contributes to a broader narrative of Britain's social and economic evolution, and the 1939 penny is an ideal example of how even the humblest denominations can hold vast historical meaning. As we conclude this exploration, it becomes clear that the 1939 one-penny coin is much more than simple bronze. Whether heavily worn or faded to the point of near obscurity, it continues to captivate collectors by virtue of its era, its symbolism, and its cultural legacy. Its journey from the pockets of pre-war citizens to today's collectors' hands is a reminder of how everyday objects can survive history and become cherished artifacts of the past. Thank you for joining us on this numismatic journey. If you enjoyed this deep dive into British coinage, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more remarkable stories from the world of coins. At number 4, the UK one-penny coin from the year 1935, a coin that circulated through the hands of everyday people and carries with it the humble yet powerful legacy of an era that shaped the modern nation. This 1935 penny, even in a circulating condition, remains an item of steady interest among collectors across the world because it represents a moment in time when Britain was navigating between the challenges of the early 20th century and the transformations that lay ahead. Its presence in the modern collector's market continues to be appreciated, not simply for its age, but for its enduring design, metal composition, and the historical depth it conveys. The story behind the 1935 penny begins during the reign of King George V, a monarch whose leadership through the First World War and the interwar period left an indelible mark on British identity. Coins from his era retain a charm that is both regal and distinctly traditional, capturing the sculptural styles and minting techniques that were characteristic of the Royal Mint at the time. The penny served as one of the essential denominations of British currency, used daily for small purchases and everyday transactions, making it a coin thoroughly intertwined with the daily life of the people who lived through that period. It stands today as both a functional relic and a cultural keepsake. On the obverse side, known to many as the head, the coin proudly displays the left-facing portrait of King George V, created by Sir Bertram McKennell. His image appears dignified, refined, and unmistakably royal, with Latin inscriptions surrounding the portrait, reinforcing the coin's official standing within the British Empire. Turning the coin over to the reverse side, often called the tail, we see the iconic seated Britannia holding her trident and shield, a symbol of national strength and maritime dominance. This design had been a staple of British pennies for decades, yet each year's minting carries its own subtle differences in tone, strike, and preservation, giving each surviving coin its own small personality. Even in circulated condition, the 1935 penny often retains a pleasing level of visible detail that collectors regard fondly. The cultural and historical significance of the 1935 penny extends far beyond its monetary value. In the broader picture of British heritage, it represents the enduring symbolism of Britannia, a figure that has appeared on British coinage for centuries and serves as a timeless emblem of identity. It also reflects a period of relative peace before the outbreak of the Second World War, making it a physical link to a generation that was soon to witness great upheaval. Coins such as this one allow collectors and historians alike to connect with the narratives of everyday people, offering an authentic reminder of the rhythm of life in pre-war Britain. The penny from this period carries a weight of approximately 9.4 grams, being composed primarily of bronze, a traditional alloy used for British low-denomination coins for many decades. Its size and metallic feel instantly set it apart from modern coinage, giving it a satisfying heft that many collectors appreciate. Holding the coin in one's hand often brings a sense of nostalgia, offering an immediate sensation of the craftsmanship and minting standards that defined older currency. What makes the 1935 penny especially interesting for collectors are the key details that surround its production and survival. While the coin itself was not minted in exceptionally low quantities, its availability today varies greatly depending on its condition. The circulating examples, such as the one we are focusing on, still attract steady collector interest because they present the coin in its authentic form, showing the wear and touch of the countless hands that once used it in daily life. These lightly worn features add character, giving collectors the charm of originality rather than perfection. Though not considered extremely rare, the coin remains desirable because of its connection to the reign of George V, as well as its place within the bronze penny series that many collectors aim to complete year by year. Condition does affect its value, and a circulated piece will naturally sit in the lower end of the market. However, even circulated examples continue to find active demand, particularly among beginning collectors, those building historical timelines, or enthusiasts who appreciate vintage British currency. In terms of its current market value, a 1935 penny in circulating condition generally trades within a modest range, often valued at around $2,000 to $2,500 US depending on the level of wear, detail visibility, and general eye appeal. Some particularly well-preserved circulated examples may command a slightly higher price, especially if the surfaces remain smooth, the portrait clear and Britannia sharp enough to satisfy collector expectations. Even with a modest dollar value, its historical charm frequently outweighs its monetary worth, ensuring its steady place within the collector community. For anyone looking to add this coin to their collection, a few practical ideas can help guide the experience. It is always wise to select a piece that still displays a clear portrait of King George V and a readable date, as these are often the first details collectors look for. Choosing a coin with even wear and minimal damage ensures a more attractive and lasting addition to any collection. Storing the penny properly in a coin holder or protective sleeve keeps it safe from further deterioration and allows it to retain its appeal over time. Many collectors also enjoy comparing multiple examples from different years or conditions to gain a deeper appreciation of minting variations and historical context. As we reach the conclusion of this journey into the world of the 1935 UK 1 penny coin, it becomes clear that this piece is far more than a simple unit of currency. It serves as a meaningful link to Britain's past, capturing the artistry, traditions, and cultural values of the early 20th century within a small bronze disc. Even in a circulated state, the coin holds enduring charm and continues to be sought after by collectors who value both its historical importance and its quiet elegance. Thank you for joining us as we explore this remarkable coin, and if you enjoy learning about pieces of British numismatic heritage, remember to stay connected for more fascinating discoveries. At last, the UK 1 penny coin from the year 1928, found in a very rusty and time-worn condition. Despite its weathered surface, this coin carries with it an unmistakable charm, the sort of charm that collectors often find themselves drawn to, because behind every corroded edge and every patch of oxidation lies a story stretching back nearly a century. This is not just a piece of old metal but a witness to the late reign of King George V, the interwar years, and the daily hands and pockets it passed through during a period of profound social change in Britain. To appreciate the full significance of this particular penny, it is essential to understand the world in which it was minted. Britain in 1928 was a nation adjusting to life after the First World War while navigating the cultural shifts of the Roaring Twenties. King George V sat firmly on the throne, and his portrait was the familiar face of British currency. The Royal Mint continued to produce bronze pennies in large quantities, keeping alive a design tradition that had become a national symbol. So when you examine a 1928 penny, even in very rusty condition, you are connecting with a moment when modern Britain was still taking shape, where factories buzzed, trade was bustling, and new cultural trends were spreading throughout the population. Looking at the design, the head side of the coin proudly displays the left-facing portrait of King George V. Even if rust has softened the finer details, the outline of the monarch's profile still embodies the dignity and stability associated with his reign. The Latin legend surrounding the portrait, though possibly faded by corrosion, originally proclaimed his royal titles in the traditional and regal style of the era. When the coin is turned over, the tail side presents the iconic seated Britannia holding her trident and shield, one of the most recognizable symbols in British coinage history. Rust may obscure some of the finer artistic elements, yet the silhouette remains a powerful reminder of Britain's maritime heritage and national pride. It is this dual imagery, royal authority on one side and stoic national symbolism on the other, that has allowed pennies of this period to remain beloved by collectors. There is remarkable historical and cultural value attached to a British penny of this age. These coins circulated during a fascinating chapter of British life, a time of shifting industries, expanding global influence, and increasing modernization. Ordinary people used these pennies in markets, trams, shops, and pubs, and because of that everyday usage, each surviving specimen carries a quiet record of the society that produced it. Even in very rusty condition, the 1928 penny is an artifact of genuine cultural heritage, and its imperfections serve as proof of the long journey it has endured. Collectors often find that such wear only heightens the nostalgic charm, making the coin feel even more rooted in authentic history. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1928 UK 1 penny was struck in bronze, an alloy traditionally used for its durability and distinctive coloring. Each coin from that era weighs approximately 9.4 grams and measures 31 millimeters across, making it a substantial size by modern standards. The weight and feel of an old penny in hand gives collectors the sense of holding something sturdy and enduring, an object that represents both craftsmanship and long-forgotten daily routines. Even with rust eating into the metal, the coin's original form remains recognizable, a testament to the Royal Mint's robust production standards at the time. What makes the 1928 penny particularly interesting for today's collectors is its key features and the historical importance attached to its date. While not the rarest of the George V pennies, it still holds steady demand due to its connection to the late 1920s and the enduring popularity of the entire George V series. Many collectors aim to build complete year-by-year sets, and a 1928 example, regardless of condition, is often sought after to fill gaps in these collections. Even heavily rusted examples can find continued interest because early 20th century pennies still feel like tangible links to Britain's past. Rarity and condition always play a crucial role in determining a coin's desirability. A 1928 penny in pristine, uncirculated condition can attract strong attention and higher prices, particularly from seasoned collectors who prize the sharpness of detail. However, even very rusty coins such as the one we are discussing can maintain a place in the collector market due to their age and the general affection for George V pennies. Rust does reduce value, as the corrosion can mask design features, but the coin still holds historical importance and can appeal to beginners, restorers, and enthusiasts who enjoy the challenge of preserving or displaying coins in worn states. When we look at the current market value in dollars for a 1928 penny in very rusty condition, the price tends to remain modest but steady, reflecting both its abundance and its charm. Typically, such a coin may sell for around $4,500 to $5,000 depending on the extent of rust, visibility of the design, and the buyer's personal interest. For collectors who love the character of time-worn coins, this makes the 1928 penny an accessible and appealing entry point into the world of British numismatics. Even though rust lowers the premium, demand persists because of the year's historical weight and the ongoing fascination with early 20th century British currency. Collectors who wish to make the most of a rusty 1928 penny often focus on gentle, non-invasive preservation methods to prevent further deterioration while keeping the coin's authenticity intact. Those seeking to build a full-date run of pennies from the reign of George V will likely welcome such a piece as an affordable addition. New collectors can benefit from examining coins like this closely, learning how age, wear, and corrosion influence a coin's story and value. And because these coins remain reasonably accessible, they offer a chance to study British history through original objects rather than textbooks or images. In conclusion, a 1928 UK 1 penny coin in very rusty condition may appear humble at first glance, yet it stands as a powerful reminder of Britain's past, the enduring legacy of George V, and the beauty of coins that have survived nearly a century of handling and exposure. Its value lies not solely in financial terms but in the richness of its story, the depth of its symbolism, and the connection it creates between modern collectors and the people who once used it in everyday life. Thank you for joining this detailed exploration of one of Britain's enduring copper-colored treasures, and may your own numismatic journey continue to bring discoveries, curiosity, and enjoyment.